on the language policy crisis in children's content, and the situation here is ZBC and its streaming platforms, which are dominated by English language children's content, mostly imported. So we're responding to the questions in line with the topic and its demands. So our number one task was to
analyze the policy problem.
Right. On the analysis of the policy problem, we agreed that it lacks inclusivity because it does not cater for linguistic and cultural backgrounds. Considering that in our Zimbabwean situation, we've got even linguistic diversity, and our constitution officially recognizes 16 languages, including sign. So we also saying this lack of linguistic diversity does not consider that language formation begins at infant level, as we are talking about children here. But in mostly ZBC programs are in English, and this violates Section 6 and 63 of our Constitution, the Zimbabwe Constitution, 2013, which officially recognizes 16 languages official. Then you also have international conventions and declarations. For example, UNESCO 1953, United Nations Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, the Education Act 1987, which was amended in 1996 and 2020, which promotes the teaching and learning or the use of mother tongue. So this non-recognition of this language, the linguistic diversity, leads to cultural and linguistic erosion. Then number two.
Why does the situation exist? Economics, policy gaps, and prejudice.
All right. Why does this situation exist? We are saying, to some extent, there's lack of political will to implement the constitutional provisions that we spoke about. Because we are looking at also the ZB Service Act of 2025. It is provision for addressing language diversity, but it lacks effective implementation.
Number three, what policies affect this? Broadcasting regulations, content quotas, funding criteria.
I think we deliberated on this one in the morning, but we also included it in our response, where we are saying here the response to number three is funding criteria, where we're saying the funder in most cases determines the language of programming, for example, adverts, and the content itself. Number four.
What is the constitutional legal foundation for your argument?
Yeah, I think we already answered that by saying there is a violation of our constitution in Zimbabwe, or Section 6, page 17, official recognition of our languages. If you learn about the Education Act or UNESCO or UNDHR, there are many, even circulars, in different ministries.
Number 5, who benefits from current system? who loses?
Remember, the current situation you are talking about is that the content is mostly in English. So I am saying the broadcaster benefits and the speakers of the language in question are losers. If they are not, if the information is not transmitted in their language, it means these people are losing their culture, their traditions, norms and values, etc., etc.
Number 6, to develop specific policy proposals.
Right. Thina sibona ufanele ukuthi sithi capacitate content creators to create content in indigenous languages. Then 25% of ZBC programming and broadcast hours must be in indigenous languages. And you also thought of this ZBC having or creating a log sheet for children's programs to track language compliance. Ukuthi ukhale soluthi sisuthu sivenda ini kukhona baloge silwele log sheet where you comment by the end of the day or we to say this we carried out. And also there should be effective monitoring and evaluation of these indicators to check impact and progress.
Number 7, what changes to BAS local content regulations? BAS stands for Broadcasting Authorities of Zimbabwe.
Thank you. The responsible authority should provide incentives for independent content creators to produce quality multilingual productions.
Okay. Should there be indigenous language quotas within local content quotas?
Yes, we think it's necessary and very important so that we prevent or it prevents exclusion by population size. For example, you find to say, we were saying, Amashona, they are 80%, Abasutu 1%, then you give more space to a larger population. So you are saying no, to prevent such exclusion of population size, it is really necessary.
Number 9, what incentives for producers creating indigenous language content?
Payments for independent content producers immediately. Next.
Okay. Should funding criteria prioritize language diversity? Number 10.
Yes. We are saying language is an identity marker, a carrier of culture. There is that sense of belonging. I'm part of Zimbabwe, I'm part of a community, a larger community as Zimbabwe. And it also boosts the self-esteem. It also creates role models in different communities. What is now creative content, next, we are also motivating especially the youth.
Number 11, what about subtitles dubbing for broader accessibility?
Number 11, yes, it is necessary. So, yes. Yes.
Yes, you will find that production is in one language. We don't want to exclude others who are using the other language. So each production should have subtitles. If it's in Ndebele, it should have Shona or Sotho subtitles so that it covers these other languages. So subtitling should be a must. We should enforce that the broadcast. When you are bringing your production, it should have subtitles so that it covers other languages. Then when you talk of sign language, every production should have a corner picture-in-picture, a corner with a sign language interpret, so that people who use that language can see and follow the program. So those are the recommendations we are putting forward. Subtitling and then sign language element of all productions for children.
Yes, I think we've seen this many human programs over South Africa. Yes, it's happening. I think that if we take that route, we'll be in a better position. The number 12.
Number 12, create advocacy strategy.
Yes, we're saying it's necessary to involve all key stakeholders, starting from Mama language communities, wow, or Skulumela, or through awareness and consultative activity meetings, in consultation with community leaders, and step on up what they need to do in research. Or for example, I use my institute, or when we are lobbying. We start with the communities. Abanye atolo ultimate so ni sutsa kana basifuni abalanda balaso. Recently I was conducting a research at school on a certain topic, and I did an assumption that there are certain schools in the middle of our Sutu communities where I thought I was going to gather information among you, but I found that those schools were not teaching Isutu at all, right from ECDA. About 7 schools. From number 1, number 2 school, number 3. Then the funny part, you find with a primary school, I see, but a secondary school. Then you begin to one with a secondary student. So those are the issues. So I said before lobbying, OZBC or the entire media sector, we should start off Mangalama baseline surveys, engage our communities, the government speakers themselves, the community leaders, our community leaders, for example, those are the custodians of the language and culture, and how you mobilize abantu babalalela. Then the other thing, the city also in the education sector, there's need probably government sponsorship, formal competitions, just to motivate our Batandi language. So we went up to number 12. We were left with about 5, 13 to 17. Not that we had no answers, but I think we failed to manage the time.
Thank you very much. We are the parliamentarians. We are also the owners of the money. We are advertisers on TV. We should have questions. Here is a panel. They are advocating for certain things. My first question is, I heard you saying the subtitles or Shona subtitles with 14 languages. How do you suggest we handle that? 14 more languages.
Yeah, let's respond then.
It would come back down to using English as the subtitle language or content that is non-English.
Ministers, you have any response?
And again, technology is on our side. If you go to your TV and click subtitles, it gives you an option, not only one. Subtitles English, subtitles shown, subtitles this. So what we are saying is the production should have subtitles in those languages embedded into the program. The person who is viewing is the one who will select the language. So instead of reproducing it in another language, we work on the subtitles using translators or interpreters from those marginalized languages so that they can select subtitles in their language.
I wanted to say we obviously cannot have all 14 languages in a subtitle. So what happens if you watch Showmax on Netflix? If the film or the movie is in isiZulu, it will give you two options: either isiZulu subtitles and English subtitles. If it's in Tswana, it will give you two options: English and Tswana, because mind you, everything has got a target market. So i-target market ngamaZulu, and then ilapha ngithanda izinto ngiyasazi isikhiwo ngizabukela ngifaka ama-subtitles awesikhiwo. We cannot completely dismiss ukuthi asafuna ukufunda isikhiwo because nasesifuna ama-subtitles awama-languages ethu. It's practically impossible. So unless you are saying, unless if it was ukuthi i-movie esishona kayibe lama-subtitles ayo esishona embedded in the film lesikhiwa, otherwise all 14 languages
it's not possible.
It's not possible. I'm sorry, but it's not possible. And also even say in the deaf community, it's a delicate thing, but there is no way we will have Wongama movie unless screen economy. They will always be Labo Amashona Alowa, Mandevele Alowa, Amankalanga Alowa. At the end of the day, Siacha central language. We cannot run away from that. People will try universal language.
Yonke into indlela yokuyiqalisa. Kune what is called in film looping. We can loop when it's over the film Sizulu Indian. You get like
Yes, the Indians are speaking.
Yes, they're speaking in Zulu. So we can loop some of the films on now. Siyakwanisa ukuloopa ngesisuthu, ngesitonga, so I think it's possible.
I agree, Master, but not all languages. It's a good idea and it's possible with 2 or 3 languages. But if you are going to have all 14 or 16 languages that we have, it will be impossible. It's not possible.
Go ahead. That is the idea.
Yes, then you would start telling the amazing support among for example, the program is soon today. The program is soon. Say, we are pulling me up and to a suit. Aware is what a Kulma suit to Baba in this queue. You can't not putting all languages one time. You can it away. As
a filmmaker, what we are saying is all languages. And the 1 or 2 languages it's possible. We can have subtitles. In ISQ, we can have show on the subtitles. That's okay. But necessarily inclusive. See, all languages. I agree. So 1 or 2, yes.
So I think it speaks into the production budget of you coming out with such a production. Because suppose you want to do looping, and secondly also you want to do subtitling, it means you need to have actors who will do voice acting to imitate the character of the particular film for the duration of it. Suppose you've got a TV series, and 13 episodes. So it speaks into the production process here, how much you're going to invest in getting that done.
So we
so it's like you are overdubbing that, but you're getting the people to watch the content and then reanimate the dialogue in the language, and then that track gets embedded into the film. But then because of digital migration in television, which is where we're supposed to be, Tina Serabe fully digital migrated space on our ZTV. Then it becomes difficult, for example, that we should access TV, choose the language option of your TV set, because that is also embedded into the digital migration process of use in that film. So with Netflix, because it's a streaming platform, we've got those alternatives. But in each number of services, a largely analog interface, challenge.
Okay, thank you.
ngicabanga ukuthi ama-subtitles ayayenza but sizozikhuluma ngabe online because I always download ama-movie ku-movie box. So uyakwazi ukushela ama-subtitles amandarini, wa-Chinese, we have about 20 or 30, so you choose ama-subtitles owafunayo. So I think it's possible ukuthi uma wenza i-movie it is ama-subtitles ayivuma but uzasichakho na maybe indaba digital cost digital online what.
So as advocates, that's our job. We are saying to us there is nothing called impossible. You see the word impossible, we want you to keep out out of it and impossible. That's our job. If we're to listen to you telling us that you can't, this is what the situation is like now. You go to ZBC and try and tell them, they tell them, no, it can't. I'll just give you an example. Mhlanga did a production in the deaf community with the deaf. And then ZBC saw it somewhere. Now they came to Amakwasi, they saw it, okay, this is like that, this is like that. So now we want to put it on TV. Then there's, but we can't, this can't. No, what we are saying is we use technology to our advantage. If it's not there, we are lobbying that we get to that level and implement it. That's our job.
As a country and as ZBC, do we have that budget? And where are we getting our content from?
Kata uyenza ukuthi libe le TV channel yenu nanti ama-India sahlala ngivule i-channel yama-India ngizibukelele in your language and so on and so that ngikwazi ukuthola if I want to watch something or wesisuthu or something like that in Sotho language I just ngihamba ku-channel 3 andisembukela ngingase ngifakele ngama-subtitles awesikhiwa khona phana kuzothi then if I watch something okule sitshewa phakathi sengikwazi ngaku-channel leyi. Is that not an easier starting than nokunye nje kade ukumbuzo nje ukuthi in our advocacy angeke siyecela yini ukuthi sithi advanced equipment that can speak to ama-standards lawo esiwafunayo ukuthi ngoba nje kulabo happy labo thando lapha nyanga generation efuna omandarin labo bani bani. Can we not lobby then for a budget allow for that kind of equipment to be in our studios or our channels that you allow?
Just as said, we see at the moment we are renovating. We have renovated the Montreal studio for content creation. That's the new locus which is coming for content. Independent content producers. So we are moving some of the channels. This is about my channel HNA. Our a corner is from next year. So we are launching the new renovated ZBC in Montrose, where content is a big created called. Then our independent producers as a later. So we have a channel as a the children's channel, we subscribe the entertainment, we subscribe the drama, subscribe different channel sports and all that. So Ibulawa has been earmarked to go to here as a receiver content creation, content from this side. So 40% of the content as a corner, a producer, my individual, my independent producers. And this year we are trying what we want to pay as ZBC, we want to pay all the independent producers. We are lobbying in ministries coming what my independent producers are better. I'm speaking from a meeting in Savalai last week. I'm not from ZBC. I'm not from ZBC, but that's what they said. So, yeah.
Thank you for positive comments. I suggest that
Yes.
Not a mighty can't. Mighty can't. You also how can it do? From it can't, how can it do? Right. I wanted to go back to usisi lapha izolo, ngiyamkhohle ibizo lapho sisohlezi lapha. Uthe singazichiphisi, the problem ukuthi siyazichiphisa. Ukuthi so I want to go back to comment yakuthi akwenzini ukuthi la ndidinga equipment ezayenza lokhu nalokhu. Kuyayenza. This is why we said inkalakatha endawo must also lobby bona ama-community language speakers labo ukuthi labo sithi motivate them ukuthi baqakathekise ulimi lwabo labo bafike ngaphi ulevel zona ezesikhuluma ngazo ngoba any problem is not about ZDC or what, is about ama-attitudes abama-language speakers. Amanye creator ukuthi they don't see ukuthi i-future yabo. For example, ngafunda iSuthu kumbe ngikhuluma iSuthu endaweni ezinye unginceda ngani. So kunye vele kufaka kuze kuyefika ku-national level ukuthi what do we have for these people njani njani. Lathi thina abanikazi bendawo. So the guy was GPs and
So we are looking for funding for content creation in the languages. Because when you go there and say, can you have content in sign language? They will tell back and say, let's have the content. We don't have. So the language owners, the speakers, have to be capacitated to produce content in their language which will push through the national broadcast. Because the situation we realized, the country, the official 16 languages, check for the country, the lawmakers. Then BAS also is allocation for that. But what is lacking is implementation. Why is it lacking? In some instances, there is no content. So we are looking for content creation in those languages, then pushing them into the system.
I will come.
Chair, take the orders from people. That's the only way we can get the type of.
The mantra is nothing for us without us. If you are programming for Ndebeles, use a Ndebele. If it's for Shona, use a Ndebele. It's for the deaf, use a deaf person. So
yeah, that also came up as we were discussing, and we did mention the use of schools, communities, where as the starting point for content creation, by having government finance competitions, I think it was mentioned, it could be choral competitions in the languages, and paying those who create the plays, like what you do. We used to watch a lot of Chipao. If that was made a school's program, if there's a heritage-based curriculum now, if they funded those plays and particularly asked for those plays in those languages, then we will have a lot of content to start with. And the children are being taught to grow up in that language and some of them will become content creators in the future. I think it's a forward thinking.
just to add something onto that, on the point that you have said, from today, coming out of this room, may we not have a content creator who is going to have a deaf person, who is going to come on stage and say, and act as a deaf person. Because Msama has got 50 deaf artists, well trained, groomed in theatre and everything. So if you want to cast a deaf person, get a deaf person to play the character of a deaf person. So this is what we are doing. So when a content creator says, where are the deaf artists? Then he provides them. So that's the same thing with Suthu. When they say, where do you have programs for Suthu? There they are. So I just wanted to encourage us to say nothing for us without us. If we are playing a deaf character, the characters are there. So let's use that. I just wanted to put an example on what we are doing.
Going back to our purpose here, Is this the language that we should be using? The normal language I know, if we were to put creatives here and put politicians here, it was like, arts are important, but normally we don't base what we have on exactly what you were doing. You will notice you were giving us a lot of information, the whys, the how. But most of the time, going back to issue a confrontation, when creatives say we want to meet legislators, that's because when you lobby or advocate for something, you also must be suggesting solutions. And already you could hear they were telling us this can be done this way. They are not here to complain. There's a difference between complaining and advocating. Because already you must have a plan. Immediately, okay, I hear you. So what do you want me to do? You should be able to stand up and say, this is our plan, this is our suggestion, this is how it should go, and this is how we think it will work. And I think, congratulations, I think they did manage to convince us that at least there must be more indigenous language on TV. But I thought we privatized. I will have private stations. I didn't hear you talk much about them. We still have one. It's still ZBC, Amen. Did you suggest that we have other private ones that could also assist us in that regard?
We forgot about the thing on the mind. Just to add on to that, before the late comes on my side, I identified the challenge on the deaf community there at Damakos and took one content producer to key on TV, a deaf person who's going to be a producer for deaf programs. So we are trying to bring them into the private station. The other radio stations got similar programs. So it's a point that we missed. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, because also you highlight can we have other stations also? If we open the airwaves and I'm able to say I want to watch the vendor and I want to watch that would also help. This is advocacy. Thank you very much. I don't know, I hope lunch is ready, but I hope that at least two groups could they want to try. So they will tell us who they are. Certainly we are all, you can choose what you want to be when you listen to them. Are you
active with some of these skills? So if you workshop people so that they structure our festivals and they have all these different points of employment, it helps create a sustainable festival economy space. Right. And then we looked at potential of creating a national festival development fund. Then having it maybe governed by a board that can incorporate the National Arts Council and the Board of Creatives, so that then it helps also pull in number funds and resources to support ecosystem among festivals. And then we looked at the government helping out in infrastructure development to support our festivals, and then our local authorities also helping access to some of these venues, because sometimes people want to do our festivals, they end up doing them in spaces that do not suit the purpose, because they feel like they're being blocked here and there. But then if we create a proper ecosystem of festivals, and then the other part that the National Arts Council can look into is then developing a direction of not only the creatives but the festivals themselves. It means then within that same ecosystem, see the accountability, and that direction can be accessible. If you go online, you can find which festivals are happening at this time, where then it's easy for you to give the support you have, and have the community supporting and making sure those festivals are sustainable. And then we looked at Amanama government departments, like for example your ZTA, your foreign affairs, they can always help in and make sure that AMA festivals are sustainable through their own mechanisms of promotion. So basically, the 4 points again I'll reiterate that are about what we'll then be looking for is a classification system for the festivals, TICS and creative cultural industries integration, the market mechanisms to protect intellectual property, and then synchronizing AMA venues with our National Arts Council and our recognition systems to make sure that we create a sustainable festival circuit. So going back to the point, if the festival checks certain boxes, then we can call it a festival. So of the list of festivals that we assume that we have, you find that again, some of them are not really festivals, they're just purely events. So we need to then convince the market to start calling the events for what they are, than to take them festivals which are not festivals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I will begin by making a comment on the term event. I think that is a broad-based term, and there are quite a lot of events that happen. A wedding is an event. This workshop, it's an event. So when it comes to the creative industry, maybe to speak with clarity, we can then, in terms of performances, exhibitions and the like, that are intended for public consumption, for an audience, we can speak of festivals, and we can speak of concerts. I think those two to align our conversation into context. And thank you very much for your presentation on the mushrooming of unsustainable festivals. We can call it the pandemic of the festivals, the Gorerema Festival. And I will agree with you that so many concerts have just been named festivals for the sake of naming them. I think we are on an overdrive. There's an excitement around the word festival. So I think it has become sort of like a selling point, a marketing gimmick to actually attract patrons to attend a musical concert and referred to as a festival, but not really being a festival. I also just wish to highlight the fact that festivals, they vary in nature and their structure and how they are run. Not all festivals are 2 days or 3 days or 7 days. One can also be a one-day festival, and it will be a very good festival being a 1 day, while others can be 2 or 3 days or 5 days. And while I'm still at that, a festival is not only confined to the performances or the exhibitions being done, but it entails the whole setup of the festival in terms of structure and the programs or program activities that are embedded within that festival. I'll give you an example of how the Jacaranda Music Festival runs. It runs for 5 days, and of those 5 days, 2 days are dedicated to a music business conference. Then 3 days are dedicated to performances. But if you ask sometimes just a commoner, they will tell you Jacaranda runs for 3 days. Or you hear them saying, my workshops in Jacaranda, because the festival will happen after the workshops. And they are separating the capacity building from the performances, and they are recognizing the performances as the festival. yet everything is the festival. I also wish to agree with you when you say a festival should involve community participation. And that's one very important element about festivals, how they should not only have economic impact, but also social impact. And of both categories of those impacts, whether social or economic, it should involve the local community. In terms of the artists who are participating in the festival, some of them, the majority actually, should come from the local province or local host country. If it's an international festival, let's say if it's Jakarta, you can have artists coming from South Africa, other countries, Spain or Nigeria, whatsoever. But the majority of the artists must be Zimbabweans, whether they are local DJs or performing artists, dancers, poets, etc. They must be local. And going on to the service providers, you should also ensure that the majority of the service providers are also local. It's not good for a festival happening in Bulawayo to then import service providers all the way from Harare, especially those that are also found within Bulawayo. That will stimulate some aggrandizement and a lack of interest and ownership towards that festival. But when a festival has community ownership, it then becomes a vibrant festival because everyone has a part to play. Whether you are a service provider, you are an artist, you are a patron, you are a school, whatsoever. And the issue of documentation, maybe just being organized as a festival in terms of good corporate governance. It's important to have competent personnel who run the festival. So from the creative director, maybe the festival director, to the stage managers, etc. And those who are responsible for managing just the finances. Because when a festival is properly managed, you will realize that it attracts both funding and also investment at the same time. There are those who have interest to fund for whatever goodwill they are funding for. Maybe it's because the festival also involves the participation of persons with disabilities or women or children, and a certain fund, I would say, I'm specifically funding the stage and the welfare and participation fees for such a group. Then there can be investors who will say, we want to put in money because they see value, they see the business value in the festival. So those are the two critical elements when it comes to the financing of festivals, and that then demands for some level of transparency and accountability, which you will then not find in so many festival organizers of nowadays. They do not have any records for whatever they are doing and cannot account for most of the finances that they will have received. So So in my last remarks, maybe as the National Arts Council, I wish to bring to your attention that we regulate festivals, and we have in place what we call festival guidelines, which guide as a framework as to what is a festival and what is expected of you as a festival promoter. The guidelines that are currently standing in place have been there for so many years, and I'm excited to announce that processes are underway, wherein we are reviewing those guidelines, and they will soon be available to the public, so that those who are interested in becoming festival organizers will then know what is expected of them and stand guided within that framework. While I'm at it, I wish to also bring to your attention that we recognize two broad categories of festivals as the National Arts Council. One being commercial festivals.
$50 for groups, $250 for associations and organizations. Then commercial promoters, 1.860. Then festivals, commercial, 250. Then we've got 560 for commercials, studios, etc.
All right, what is the history? What is the history? Did we start somewhere affordable and then suddenly up and then then it came down again?
It's the economy.
No, we had Zig.
We had Zig.
Yeah.
When it went to US, that's what was or it was revised also?
Yes.
No, it was not reversed.
It was the same.
It was the same.
Yeah.
Because Zig had charger, he was equivalent to that in USD.
No. Yes.
Why are you refusing for us?
Why are you refusing for us?
No, because this is for.
Let me tell you my experience. What happened was there was Zig, and we immediately registered. A lot of us did, and we got our certificates. And then I think, if I remember very well, when we wanted to renew, it had changed from Zig to US, and the figures looked a bit.
But 2020, you know what? These figures, especially in promote, it's not a current figure. This is a figure you can 2040, 2050.
What about with groups and?
We only added for individuals.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And why do you think people are not registering? Is it because of that amount, or it's because they don't feel? Let me ask you from your experience.
From experience, one, some is because of the amount. Some are totally ignorant. They tell themselves, why should I register? I don't benefit anything from National Arts Council. Also, Buddha can fight a tender on top of the hands. Can expect a government event or National Arts Council contracts for artists. And for us, it's our first choice. It's those who are registered.
All right. Let me come back to Mr. Buta. My question that I asked before, I think you still remember it, right? What was it?
You can come again.
Essentially, I was asking, when you create these guidelines, do you consult? Is there consultation between you or among you and the stakeholders, so that at least then even the festival organizers, this team that was talking, they feel like, okay, we've been part of the process. Who becomes part of the process of creating these guidelines before they are passed on and they are used as the way we guide festival registration, etc.?
Thank you very much. I will begin by highlighting that I'm not very sure about what was done before I joined the council. Like I indicated, the current standing guidelines, I think they've been there for quite a number of years. Because we have the festival guidelines, then we have the promoters handbook as part of some internal policies which help us in regulating the sector. So I really do not have enough information as to how those were crafted. Which were consultations done, or it was just, those at the top internally who sat down to then say who is a promoter, what categories, what is expected from a promoter, how is the show cleared, what are the expectations, blah, blah, blah. Just like for the festival guidelines. But what I can then say now is, given that we are having this conversation, and given that we are also in the process of trying to review those existing guidelines, I think I'm going to be the best messenger to influence our CEO to also consult with the sector, with critical stakeholders who can also maybe take a look at the existing document, because we are not introducing something new, we are simply reviewing the existing document so that it's up to date. So I think it's also important, since it's already in existence and it's already being experienced by some stakeholders, I think it's best we consult with them so that they say, let's keep this, let's change this, let's adjust here and there. And I think it's quite doable because as the National Arts Council, I think you have seen us, I think since last year, part one, doing some nationwide consultations just to have an appreciation about the sector. Some were done even at board level. Some of you might have interacted with our board members when they were doing those consultations just to make the state of the arts in Zimbabwe. Then when it comes to NAMA, the National Arts Merit Hours, there have been consultations that have been done in Harare and in Bulawayo physically, I think 2 times. And they've also been done digitally this year, pertaining the introduction of the 2 new categories which are now there. They were not done by us, but through consultations. Thank you.